Hello, and welcome to Introducing Me. I'm your host, Sarah. I started this podcast to get to know other people and lifestyles while discovering more about myself. Each episode, I'll give a new guest a chance to discuss their background, culture, interests, or whatever they want to talk about to help increase all of our own worldviews. Today, I would like to introduce you to Amanda. She is a co-founder of Me Mother Earth, which is a company that sells lots of awesome products with a goal to stop plastic waste and help our Mother Earth. So she's going to talk about her business a little bit, why she got into it, how she got into it, all the good stuff about saving our planet and what we all can do for those sort of things. So I'm excited to hear what she's got for us today and learn a little bit more about her and her business. So Amanda, why don't you say hello and introduce yourself?
Hi. Well, thanks, Sarah, for having me. My name is Amanda. My husband and I founded Me Mother Earth a little over 2 years ago. We're originally from different areas. He's from Brazil and I'm from Seattle. And we live in Las Vegas, which has got to be one of the most wasteful cities. And we just thought that we needed to do something about it. We for sure didn't know that much about plastics, but we knew like, whoa, this has got to be having some kind of impact on our planet. And over the years, we've just really discovered that like finding solutions in our own home is helpful for others too, because those are products that we use every single day. So we have a lot of different kind of eco-friendly products that you use every day, except they're biodegradable. They're not made of plastic, or they're reusable. They're endlessly reusable. And just by switching, making these like little swaps daily, it's going to have a big impact overall.
Great. And so what was the first steps in starting a business?
So we started out with one product, and it was our collapsible straw and spork kit. So it's a reusable straw and cutlery set. It's made of stainless steel, but it folds down to fit in your pocket, so you can actually carry it with you. And myself and my husband are avid travelers, so we love to travel, and we're like, oh, well, this is something we can actually bring with us. I'm not going to carry around like big bulky cutlery sets or like long stainless steel straws. Like, where am I going to put it after I use it? So we thought like, oh, this is a really like great solution to a problem, and we can bring this like all over the world wherever we go and do our part to eliminate plastic. And we started selling that at little markets, local here in Las Vegas and also online. But of course, that's kind of a slow boil, like doesn't happen right away. So we did little markets and really made a home in our community, which obviously, surprisingly, there are some people in Las Vegas that also want to battle plastic waste. So it was, it's, we still do events, but it's on a lesser, it's not as often, and obviously with COVID and everything. But it's a great way for us to be able to speak with our community about, like a lot of people just don't know. And, I didn't know that plastic just doesn't go away and there's no actual away when you throw something out. Like it has to go somewhere. And plastic sticks around for hundreds of years. I mean, they really don't have the exact number because it was developed, like in the 60s or 70s. So it hasn't even been around for that long. But it's definitely something everyone can do. Like everyone can carry something around and just kind of think about, their daily waste. And the doing the events, and then now we have moved over to mostly online because of COVID, and we do wholesale as well. So we're in, over 500 stores across the country, and that's where, my heart is because then people have the opportunity to purchase our products locally and also support like their local shops as well. So that's kind of where we're moving towards and where we began.
Great. Now, so you started with one product, you're now in over 500 stores, you've got over 100 products. How did you start adding products into your line?
So, going back to like, I needed to find these solutions in my own household. And For a lot of people, it starts with like a straw. I already used, like reusable bags because I'm from Seattle area and those have not been around. Like plastic bags were, they were the first to get rid of them. So I was already kind of using reusable bags and like a reusable water bottle. And then we started with the straw and cutlery kit. And I was like, what else can I swap out? Well, bamboo toothbrushes. That was like our second product. And we have a biodegradable floss, which is vegan, and it's our top selling product by far. So I was just like noticing all these places like in my bathroom and like all these things in my kitchen that, you literally use, for a few months and then you toss it out. And if it's got some kind of like plastic or poly blend, which most of them do, it's not going to break down ever. So just by like, I'm still searching for certain products where I'm just like, there's got to be a better solution for this. And it's also got to be lightweight. That's another challenge because, a lot of companies switch over to like glass instead of plastic. Well, then you're causing waste in other areas like emissions because they're heavier to ship and you need more packaging to wrap them and things like that. So I take into all those things into account, and we do ship like most of our stuff like ourselves. We would eventually like to switch that over, but we're still, on the ground like doing that. I'm writing handwritten notes in all the packages and everything. So having a package that's lightweight, that's going to, not create waste on its way to the customer is also important.
Right, definitely. Now, when you talk about being in 500 plus stores, the wholesale market, I would assume that that's a lot of like smaller stores or more like niche stores. So, are you in any larger big stores or are you able to get into a bigger corporate world?
That's something that we're definitely looking into. We do work with a lot of indie retailers because a lot of our products are unpackaged. So if you go into a big box store, you don't see a lot of products that don't come with packaging. So there's something, some things that might need to change if we were to make that move into like a big box store. But right now we're really focused on like our indie retailers and, we're able to like ship a lot of things without that additional packaging. So yeah, a lot of refill shops, a lot of zero waste stores across the country, but we're also in a lot of like gift shops and things like that too. Which is great because then, you have a little bit of the crossover, people that are coming in there to buy a gift and they're like, "Oh, what is this? Oh my gosh, plastic free? What's that all about?" So it's just another way to reach consumers that maybe aren't aware of plastic waste.
Yeah, that makes sense. And like what you said is kind of obvious after you've said it that packaging is
Mhm.
is the big difficulty there. So we talk a little bit about your products. What do you have that makes you unique?
So I personally like use everything we sell or have used everything we sell. I live this lifestyle. So I think that's a little bit different than a lot of companies who are like, oh, this might be a good business to get into. Um, I live this lifestyle, myself. I, compost, I eat plant based, and I try my best to live plastic free, but it's an uphill battle. I mean, it's everywhere. Especially now with COVID and, having to wear a mask wherever you go or whatever, you have to have those items on you all the time. And then, um, you want stuff to be like sanitized and clean and things like that. So, grocery stores, going to the grocery store, I go to the same grocery store everyone else does. I don't go to some unique grocery store that doesn't have any kind of packaging. Food comes in packaging. So, it's trying to navigate in this plastic world, and it's very challenging. It's to eliminate plastic entirely. So we do the best that we can, and a lot of the products that we've added to our lineup um, are like solutions to that. So we have some really cool like bamboo. We have a lot of bamboo products because bamboo is a sustainable wood. It's really quick growing. It doesn't need a lot of water. So we have a lot of products that are made of bamboo. So we have these awesome like mason jar lids. So you already have, I bet everyone has a mason jar in their pantry. Pasta sauce comes in that. So you can repurpose, a glass mason jar that your pasta sauce came in and turn it into like a drinking cup. So we have these bamboo mason jar lids that go on top of glass mason jars and turn it into a drinking cup. So I try to find like things that are a little bit unique, but also solutions to things that maybe people haven't thought about. Um, I love like any of our shampoo bars work just as good as bottled shampoo. Um, we have like deodorant that comes in compostable cardboard tubes. We have all sorts of like kitchen brushes because there's different strokes for different folks, and not one solution is going to work for everyone. So we have a lot of different variety in items there, and um, yeah, pretty much everything is going to be, made of like a renewable material, like bamboo or cotton. We have some amazing like hemp cotton rounds and things like that that don't take as much water. And then they're going to break down their end of life. They're going to completely compost. Or we have things that are like endlessly reusable, like silicone bags and silicone bowl covers, which, I've sent to like my family members who I know like going plastic free might be a stretch for them, but this might be something that they can do. So I try to find things that like appeal to multiple people and not just myself, but everything that I sell, I have used and tested on myself and my husband,
Right. And that's really cool that you live and breathe the product. It shows that you are passionate about it and you're not just putting something out to try and make a profit. Now, obviously if someone, decides they don't want something anymore or something happens to break or whatever, or there is the things that do have packaging and it's compostable packaging, you don't want them throwing that into the trash. So can you talk a little bit about composting?
Yeah, so this is actually a swap that I recently made. I didn't know a lot about it. Granted, I grew up in Washington, so we always had like a yard cart, so you could put food waste and yard waste in that cart. Well, a lot of places in the country and the world don't have that. In Las Vegas, we don't have anything like that. So food waste is actually a huge polluter, and it releases a lot of greenhouse gases when it goes to a landfill. It doesn't have the ability to break down naturally. So when you compost, your food waste, your paper waste, your yard waste actually turns back into soil that can be used. It's very nutrient rich, so it can be used to like grow food. So it's very circular, versus going to a landfill and sitting there and releasing gases for potentially for a very long time. So composting, we actually use a service in Las Vegas, for our compost because it does get rather hot here in the summer, and it was something that I personally didn't want to have to deal with. So kind of spoiled that we do have that service, but I do actually want to learn how to do it in my backyard because I think it's something that everyone can do. But we have a service that we leave all our food waste and our yard waste and our paper waste, like paper towels, anything. We don't use a lot of paper towels anymore, but any kind of paper that we would have, that's smaller than like a credit card. If it's smaller than a credit card, it can't be recycled. So smaller than a credit card paper or paper that has touched food, like a pizza box or something, has to go in the compost and can go in the compost. And then that will get turned into nutrient rich soil instead of like polluting our planet. So a lot of the products that we carry, made of bamboo, like our kitchen brushes have like plant bristles, things like that. That's all going to, after you're done using it for like months and months and months, you can just like kind of break it up a little bit and it's going to turn back into soil by composting that versus going to a landfill and staying on this planet for a very long time.
Cool. And so you also mentioned that you have adopted a vegan diet. So can you explain a little bit what that's been like?
Yeah, so If you asked me like a few years ago if I ever would go vegan, I'd be like, you are crazy. No way. That's not going to happen. Because we were big travelers and food is such a big part of like experiencing different cultures and things like that. I just, I just never thought it would be possible. And I watched several documentaries actually, and I was like, oh, this is really causing havoc on like our planet, factory farming and commercial fishing. And there's a lot of scientific proof that, we don't need meat. And actually, we watched the Game Changers documentary, and my husband and I looked at each other and we're like, let's just try it out. Let's try it out for like a week and see if we can do it. And now it's been like almost 2 years. We most definitely can do it. I don't think it's possible for everyone. I mean, some people have, a lot of food allergies and things like that. And I do eat a lot of nuts. So it might not be possible for everyone, but if everyone just ate like less meat, it would be very kind to our planet because, what is it? Before the Flood is another documentary that we watched, and that I watched that years ago, and I stopped eating beef after I watched that, just because of the damage that factory farming, um, cows in particular, is doing to the planet. And I want to do my part. So yeah, I mean, I'm never hungry. Like we eat a lot. So I think that's kind of a stigma. In Vegas, there are so many vegan restaurants too. You just have to like learn how to mimic flavors and textures. But yeah, I don't see myself going back. I kind of wish I had done it sooner. I'd taken the leap sooner and just tried it out because, I have a lot more energy and stuff too. A lot of people will tell you that. Um, and I mean, there's nothing that I truly miss. I do think once travel does come back, it's going to be a little bit more challenging to find certain foods everywhere in the world. Like I mentioned, my husband is Brazilian, so like in Brazil, it might be a little bit more challenging to eat fully plant based. But I'm going to do my best because it feels good, and I think I'm doing my part for the planet.
Right. Now you said you didn't miss anything. Is there anything that like you can't really replicate in going plant-based?
There's a lot of really bad vegan food, but there's like a lot of really, really good. So I would say it took a while to find the good vegan cheeses, that actually like melt, and like like have flavor, like smoky flavors or like an aged flavor. So it took a while to find the substitutions that work for me. I also I did this like allergy test too, so I found that I am allergic to a lot of things like eggs and milk, which I found that after the fact, after I'd already eliminated those things out of the diet. But pretty much you can mimic so many things. I make a vegan crab cake. It tastes so good. There's vegan sushi. It's delicious. Like there's nothing that I really miss because flavors and textures can be mimicked so easily. And, with the way that technology is advancing in like food technology and things like that, they just mimic meat like so well. I don't eat a lot of the fake meats and things like that, but um, I bet I could fool I haven't seen my family in such a long time, but I bet I could fool them with some of the things that I cook, into thinking that it's the real thing.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Now, taking a little bit of a pivot, you are, I should say, avid travelers, just haven't been able to travel lately.
Mhm.
So, can you talk about places that you've been?
So I've not to brag, but I've been to about 35 different countries now. It was my passion for like the longest time. I would go, by myself. I would just find like a cheap ticket and just go. Um, I've taken some rather long trips. Like I spent like 5 months in Australia, New Zealand. I was younger. We took a 4-month trip a couple years ago to Portugal and then Brazil because I really wanted to learn Portuguese. that I think I need longer than 4 months to do that. But my favorite place that like I've ever been is Portugal. I could see myself living there, but when I travel, I really like to live with the people that are from there. I don't like to stay in hotels. I like to do like Airbnbs, and back in the day there was this thing called couch surfing. So I would stay on people's couches and spare rooms. Um, Pretty adventurous, but it was a great way to actually like stay with the locals, because a lot of places you'll go and you'll not get to speak with the locals and find out which spots can I go to that are not necessarily just the tourist spots that I read about in my guidebook. But it's a huge part of like who I am. I don't think I'll ever stop. Unfortunately, air travel is really bad for the environment. So something I have definitely considered in the past couple of years, like limiting, the trips that I do take and making sure that I make them worth it versus, just going for like a weekend, and flying there. So that's something that has changed over the years. But I see myself one day like living in Portugal and just being able to like drive or take the train to another country. That's just sounds like a dream.
Yeah, and it's definitely possible when you're not in the States.
No.
And what were the different cultures that you experienced? Did you ever experience culture shock anywhere?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. There are some countries that my husband would really like to go to, and I was like, I don't know if I'm up for that. It's gonna be a little bit more challenging. Say it's more challenging to get around because you don't speak the language. In a lot of um, countries, you can't even read the language. So that's something else too. I think you just have to look at it from, another perspective. Like these, you're meeting different people from different backgrounds, and, we're not all alike. And you want to, immerse yourself into their culture. So I've been to Asia. Let's see, I've been to Asia like 5 times. I keep going back, and it's just like so fascinating to me, like all these different cultures right next to each other. And they're all, I mean, the best food ever, like the best beaches ever, super affordable. Um, it's just a little bit like harder travel, and but that's maybe because I was more like a backpacker, and now I think I would do things a little bit differently, not quite as on a budget. But taking buses all over, Vietnam is it's definitely an experience. Like sometimes they tell you it's going to be an 8-hour bus ride and it's 14 hours, and there's, a magical third row appears in the bus and people are like sitting on stools in the middle of the bus, and the bathroom stop is the bus pulling over and everybody getting out. Um, so it makes for great stories and it's definitely a great experience. But yeah, you do experience a little bit of culture shock, and you definitely need to bring some of your comforts from home, like toilet paper, some places. But I wouldn't change that. It makes you, we're super spoiled here in the US. It just makes you realize, everything that, we have. Um, Part of, our goal is to eliminate, plastic waste and everything. And I foresee us, having beach cleanups like around the world, and, working with communities that maybe just don't know that plastic is bad, in other areas in the world. So I definitely want to go and teach in some of these areas eventually and go back to them. And just because when you go to an island, let's say we've been to the Maldives, which is like very bougie, but we didn't do like the bougie. I never do the bougie kind of travel. We stayed in like local Airbnbs on local islands. Um, but those are all such small islands. And we're sending plastic out there. Where do you think it goes? It goes back into the ocean. And like scuba diving is just absolutely amazing. And that part of the world, and you can appreciate all the underwater animals and just all this wildlife that just needs protecting, and we're just throwing a garbage truck full of plastic waste every like minute of every day. So there are places in the world I definitely want to go back to and see how we can, educate the local communities on how to better monitor like their waste streams and things like that. But even we do beach cleanups in like California, and there's trash all over the place. So it's not limited to like other cultures. It's here in our backyard too, and it's a global problem. And I think my traveling will evolve over the years and become more activism, and that's where I see my love of travel changing.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, you talked about how, flying is not great for the environment, so making
Mhm.
sure you lessen that. Um, but then say like, "Oh, well, I'm flying to this country, but I'm doing activism there and I want to help and I want to, kind of spread this continued message of saving the earth." So, what else do you think you can take into travel to just kind of help, lower carbon emissions, reduce plastic waste? What can we be doing with our travel to help all of that?
Well, I think, bringing our reusables with us is one thing. I look back, of my pictures in my 20s of me traveling, and I'm just like, oh, plastic straw, plastic cup on a beach, and now I would have my own. And I think when you start bringing your reusables places, people look at you funny, but they're also really interested that you would have such a big passion, like that you would care that much to like make that effort. So yeah, that's something that everyone can do. Like bring your reusable water bottle. There are filters like pretty much anywhere. They're kind of, I mean, drinking water is one thing because like it's not, you can't drink the water everywhere in the world. So that can get tricky, but like staying at like a hotel that has like the giant water jugs and is a little bit more eco-friendly because they promote reusing versus trying to sell you a $5 bottle of water. So like staying with local communities too and like actually boosting the local community is going to support, you know, them directly as well. So it's more intentional travel. Um, but yeah, I say those three things, like bringing your reusables, where you stay, is pretty intentional. And then I would say like renting a car or just trying to fly less. Are there areas like that you can get to from land to land where you're going? And how can you get there like in a little bit more eco-friendly fashion? So like I mentioned Europe, you can you can most definitely drive and like take the train and take buses and things like that. Which takes the pressure off you too, because the trains go like everywhere and you can just kick back and relax while you're on a train or a bus ride. And that's also better for the planet.
Yeah, definitely. And are you able to, or do you do anything to help try to cut back on like large corporations polluting the planet?
Oh gosh, yeah. There's like this argument that, I think there's like 10 different companies that are basically destroying the planet and it doesn't really matter what we do. Well, it most certainly matters what every individual does, because where we put our money is fueling those corporations. So I mean, I do call out some companies like on social media in particular, like I go to the grocery store and I'm like, this is completely unnecessary plastic packaging. And I'll like take a picture and like flag it. But as far as, calling out those big companies, I just don't buy anything from them. I don't buy anything from, the top 10 polluters. I don't buy into their stuff. And I think that's a huge like piece of the puzzle. We all have the power on where our money goes. Granted, accessibility comes into it too, because if you live somewhere kind of remote, you don't have accessibility to every single brand. You may have to purchase online, or you just, in certain areas of the world, you're just not going to have another option. Um, so that's kind of a bummer. But hopefully, like as more companies emerge and like we grow as well, is we hope to be in like more countries to make that a little bit more possible. So you can choose like a bamboo toothbrush versus like the only toothbrush available in your city is plastic, you know? But as far as like emailing, I mean, we definitely all can also email these companies and call them out too. But I don't do that like on my day to day life. Voting is another big thing. Everyone should vote.
Yes, definitely everybody should vote and know what you're voting for. So, what is it like, with the business getting as big as it has and plans to continue grow? You just said you want to get into other countries. What is the day to day like with your business?
So currently, I'm a little understaffed at the moment. So I am very hands on. We are packing up orders every single day. We are, trying to find new and innovative products. We're trying to make new and innovative products ourselves and like testing things out and like modifying them. Um, I also do like all of the stuff on social media myself. I say that I wear a lot of different hats. But eventually I would like to have a larger team, to help us through those like obstacles so that we can get we are looking at like getting like fulfillment in like Canada and the EU and then expanding from there. So day to day is very operational, but I work a lot of hours. I'm a hard worker. I really believe in this, and I really want this to be an entire movement. So I'm always trying to find like new products, new solutions, and do all the operations, and do the customer service stuff too, and do, the research and development, and the marketing. That's the fun stuff. We also still do some events too. So some weeks I work a lot. It's just what it is, but I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way because we're working towards a better tomorrow.
Right. And is your husband just as involved and passionate as you are?
He is. He is. He does. Our roles are a little bit different. I mean, we cater to each one of our strengths. He is really good at, negotiating with our manufacturers and, making sure that we stay in stock of all of our products, and kind of dealing with more of like the logistics. And he's very hands on, definitely. And he also does most of, the advertising. He does like all the advertising and like learning. When you're a business owner, you have to learn how to do everything. So he's really good at like learning new challenges and learning new skills.
Yeah. And where is it that you are getting your products from?
So we source from a variety of places. Obviously, it's very difficult as a small company to, sourcing is probably the number one challenge. So we do get some of our products manufactured in China, but we try to be as responsible as we can with that, and we check, to see what their labor practices like are. Do they have any environmental certifications? Where are the raw materials coming from, and things like that. But bamboo, China has the largest sustainable bamboo forest in the world. So bamboo, if you buy a bamboo product, it's most likely coming from China. But a lot of our, all of our, soaps, lotions, shampoo bars, deodorants, cleaning products, all that is made in the US. We have some things made in Europe as well, like our Swedish dishcloths. Those are, it's made in Sweden. It was invented in Sweden. So kind of like a sponge paper towel hybrid. It's really cool. And they're reusable for like months and months and months. So sourcing is definitely a challenge, but we do the best we can. And we do work with like a lot of smaller makers as well. I really like to source like our shampoo bars and soaps and things like that from makers that I've met personally, or, female owned businesses and things like that, because, we're a community, and like we all are in it together. And if I can support another small business, it just kind of pays it forward. So, yeah, we get things from like a little bit all over.
Yeah, it's great that you take so much time and consideration into finding quality places to source your products and that you're not just going with easy and you are doing the research and the digging to really make sure it is a uh full-rounded mission. So, when you were younger, did you ever think, you would end up being really passionate about saving the earth?
Definitely not. I mean, I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. I still don't know if I know what I want to be when I grow up. And I think that was kind of a bit like I was that gypsy soul, I just wanted to be a nomad forever. COVID makes you stay in one spot though, huh? So
Mhm.
this past year has really been building our business, and just staying focused on the thing that we really care about. And I did work for other companies for the longest time. And it was never like, it was fine. Like, I loved my jobs before, but it was never like what I do matters. You know what I mean? Like, I never thought that what I did like really mattered that much. So that is one thing that I am really happy about every day I come into work, is that I'm doing something that has purpose. And that's really important to, my team members as well. That's why they wanted to work with me, is because they wanted to work towards, a better tomorrow. But as a kid, I never, I just didn't know what I wanted to be. And and I think that's why Alberto, my husband, he has really been my rock, because he's always been kind of a businessman. And I don't think I ever would have, started this if it hadn't been for him, pushing me to like do something and for us to do something together. So he was a big part of that.
Yeah, and I love hearing, the ability to then work for a purpose, work for a better good, a better tomorrow is really great. Would you be willing to share a little bit about how you and Alberto met?
Oh my gosh. Yes. So we met on Tinder, here in Las Vegas, and it's actually a pretty funny story, because I was not looking for anything, and I was just like, "Oh, free dinner, okay, I'll go out with him." But I knew that he lived in Brazil, so I was like, "Oh, this is whatever." And then I liked him, and he didn't speak very good English, like hardly any at all. So communication was a little limited. But we spent like every day the first week we met together. And it's funny, I had a trip planned to South America. And so I actually left, I think it was like the seventh day or eighth day that I knew him. And I left and I was backpacking in Colombia, and I was supposed to go to Panama. But he went back to Brazil, and I was like, maybe I'll just change my trip around and go see him. So then I did. And I actually spent Christmas with him and his mom after only knowing him for like 10 days. And we, spent some time in Brazil, just like a handful of days, and then came back. I came back, I went to Panama, and then I came back to the US, and we FaceTimed every single day. And then he eventually moved here, and we got married within like 6 months of knowing each other. We just, we were each other's person, we weren't super young. So I think it was like, we knew,
Mhm.
when you're younger, you don't always like, you're just like, oh, I like him, but we knew like pretty much instantly that, we were each other's person.
Wow. That's really cool. So how did it then work with the language barrier?
He learned English, like, I'm so impressed with him. Like, he learned English, like, super fast. I still like, no fala Portuguese. Like, my Portuguese is terrible. It's something I really need to spend some serious time on. I'm embarrassed by it. But, when we were communicating long distance, it's pretty easy, with WhatsApp to, like, just copy and paste over into Google Translate. But I think when you live in a country like he moved here, like, you really have to it makes your life a lot easier if you, like, learn it. And you have full immersion, so that makes it easier too, which is what my goal was when we went to Portugal and Brazil, was to have the full immersion so I could finally sit down and learn Portuguese. But I think I need to go back for, like, I think I need, like, a year.
Yeah, definitely. If you had no background in the language to kind of be starting from scratch, I'm sure that was difficult.
Yeah, yeah. And in Brazil's funny too, because, like, nobody you travel to a lot of different countries, and usually people in, like, hospitality speak, some kind of English. Um, it's kind of the universal language. I think Americans just get really lazy because it is kind of the universal language, but I mean, in Brazil, nobody really speaks English. And they actually teach British English in school, but it's like it's only a few months. It's not even like a a, a long time course. But he took British English in school, but enough to, like, talk a little bit. But yeah, it's not like a widely spoken language in Brazil at all. So super impressed that he learned it for me.
Yeah, that's truly great. But when you find your person, that's what you do.
Yeah.
So before we start to wrap things up, is there anything else you would like to share with the listeners, whether it's about you, travel, your business, eco-friendly life? The table is yours.
Yeah, so I just want to encourage people to, like, take a look at, like, their daily habits, and the things that they're purchasing on the regular basis, and just kind of think about, like, where it's going to go after the end of its life. And if there was a product that was kinder to the planet and then it didn't cost that much more, maybe you should check that out and try it out. It might not work for you, but just at least try it out. Not every eco swap is going to work for everyone. But making these daily choices that are a little bit kinder to the planet, are going to have a big impact over our lifetimes. So just really take a look at the things in your household and see what you could be doing. And it's not to say that you're doing things wrong or anything like that. It's just to take a look at the items in your household and where they might be going.
Yeah, and I think that's some great advice. And, everything you've talked about, and even just that last message there is why, I reached out and was like, hey, I think it would be great to hear from you, hear about this lifestyle that it is a niche sort of thing that people are living. And I think a lot of people have like the little things. They have the reusable bags, they have the reusable water bottles. But kind of like, just being able to hear that advice, hear the different options that you've got going on, I think is really great. And I appreciate everything that you've shared.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Now, I warned you with all of my guests, I ask a random question at the end. So, my question for you kind of related to what we've been talking about, life swaps, different things. But what do you think we do in the world that needs to be modernized?
Oh, what do we do in the world that needs to be modernized? I really think, and this is going to, so electric vehicles are huge in other parts of the world, but they're not big in the U.S. And I think that's one thing that really needs to shift. Like, our where we're getting our energy from, should be a lot more sustainable, and it is in other parts of the world. So I think that really needs to be modernized. We have wind power, we have solar power, and it really needs to be like readily available, like everywhere in the world, because everywhere has the sun. So energy really needs to be modernized. We need to move away from like coal, which is really dirty energy, um, and move towards, sustainable energy. And that's going to be kinder to the planet as well.
Yeah. Do you have an electric car?
I do not, but my husband and I share one vehicle. And they're not, electric cars are kind of expensive here in the US and they just don't have that many types. We looked into them and we looked into getting like a hybrid. But we decided on just, having one vehicle and sharing it, which can be very tricky. But yeah, if it was readily available, and they're like in Europe, they have all these different ones that I'd never seen. You can take an Uber that's an electric vehicle in Portugal, and you can request electric Ubers. If that were here, of course people would do it. If we had the options, we would do it. But unfortunately, they're just like way expensive. Not everyone can afford a Tesla.
All right, that brings this episode to a close. I will obviously be leaving the website link to Me Mother Earth, so go feel free to check out some of their products and all of the awesome things that they are offering. I will be also leaving the link to their Instagram page, which Amanda uses to, of course, share their products, but also to just give opportunities and education about living a more sustainable and eco-friendly life. So go give that page a follow as well. And of course, if you would like to connect with the podcast on social media, the link to the website is in the description, and that will take you to our Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn pages. So I'd love if you'd go and follow those pages as well. And of course, the Patreon for monetary support is in the description as well. And if you would like to guest, you can always send me an email and, go back and listen to other episodes. They're all different, and it's great to hear all of these different stories. And I've loved learning so much about the eco-friendly ways that Amanda shared about. So thank you, Amanda, so much for spending time with me today, and to my listeners for taking the time out of your day to hear a new story. Until next week, bye.
Bye. Thanks so much for listening. Let's stop plastic and help our Mother Earth.